Shalom, brothers and sisters, and all those that seek after knowledge. This the brother Itiziah Razamoth, and today with another exclusive documentary, historical documentary, that links to the Bible, that links to things in the future, and that links to things in the past. Because we need to know our history, we need to understand the Bible, and we need to know what's going on. Our last video, we was talking about the historical figures that was in wizardry and science, how they was blending together. And the main reason why we're doing this is because we're going on a journey. We're going on a journey to Antarctica to understand about what's going on in something known as the Neutrino Icebox Observatory. But we need to know the origins of it. We need to know what started, like from the beginning. So we know biblical scriptures, and we have to know history. Because a lot of people will also say this: why so much historical research? Why do we have to go back in time and understand our history? Well, let's see what the scriptures have to say about that. All right? Because it's very important that we know a history of a subject. It's very important that if we do research on a type of object, we know what's going on. Because before this, we had two other videos. One was talking about a certain month of January, about the fake snow that was happening in the month of January. And after people was doing research, they saw chemicals in it. So, and you also had people that point to the culprit was going to Antarctica and something known as the Neutrino Ice Cube Observatory. But not too many people know about that. So now it's time for us to unveil it. So we went back in time to the Renaissance to see who was in charge of this wizardry and science. And now we're about to bring it a little closer to the modern to see these scientists. But about this question, why so much historical research? This is Proverbs 25:2, because we always have to constantly pull out Bible scriptures as being believers of Christ. We have to represent him as being the true ambassadors of Christ. This is Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. In other words, the Most High, he conceals certain things from certain people. There's certain people who just would use certain wisdom and use it for their wickedness. So he has to conceal it until the righteous comes and discover it. So that's why we're going back in time to see about this, see about these scientists. Because science is really running the world right now. You see all this technology, this AI technology. So science is actually like running the world. So we need to see where's the beginning of it so we can understand the end of a thing. This is 2 Timothy 2:15. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. So studying, you should be like at the Bible, having a one-on-one study session. You should be studying, just sitting there, opening the Bible, looking through it. You should be writing notes, certain notes from these classes, and just studying it. You should be with a groups of people, just studying. Even just have like a university Bible study in college, or get together in a library and just study. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Why? It says 2:15, rightly dividing the word of truth. You have to understand, how do you divide the word of truth? How do you put together the pieces of this historical events and put it to modern day and put it to the Bible? Not everybody can do it, but there's certain people that the Most High has called, or certain people that the Most High have blessed to do these things. And also this, 1 Thessalonians 5:21, prove all things. So you have to make sure what you're saying is right by having proof or witnesses. If you're going to cite sources online, have the sources. Like, I make sure I have the sources so y'all can go back and see for yourself. It says, and hold fast to that which is good, meaning the stuff that is good is the things that are true. So you're supposed to have these things in mind. Let's say you're like walking through the park and you're thinking about all these things. You have to understand this is actually the reason why you have to research historical evidence. This is a good example. Let's go to Acts 17:11. It says, these were more noble than those in Thessalonica, and that they received the word with all readiness and mind and search the scriptures daily, whether those things were true. So you have to make sure you always have your Bible around you, searching the scriptures, especially if you are young people, because that's where Satan is tempting people. If y'all are like young Black Americans, young minorities, that's where Satan, he's going to tempt you. This is Proverbs 2, or the Proverbs, the second chapter, and we're going to start at the 3rd verse. This is Proverbs 2 and 3. It says, Yea, if thou criest after knowledge, and lifted up thy voice for understanding. So you're looking for understanding and knowledge. You're seeing all these evil things going on in society. You're thinking about it. You're looking up. You're walking like through a park, just looking up, like what's really going on? What's really going on? You're with your friends and y'all thinking about this. And it says, and lifted up thy voice to understanding, if thou seekest her as silver, and searcheth for her as hid treasures. Meaning you have to dig deep for knowledge. It's not going to be there. It's not going to always be right there. So you have to go and search out for this knowledge. So even this is Wisdom of Solomon 6, 12 and 13. It says wisdom is glorious. Understand, you're going to get wisdom is glorious. Let me skip down. It says she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. I mean, you have to go and seek after wisdom. Once you seek after wisdom and you find that wisdom, it's going to make you happy. You said, oh, wow, I know certain things that other people don't know. And one last scripture before we start. This is Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach in the Apocrypha, 39 and 1. And it says, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancients of the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. And that's what we should be doing, being occupied in prophecies. You should be looking through these scriptures, having all the people, all your study groups, just looking through and just be wondering about the prophecies, looking at the news, looking at the newspapers, looking at the Bible, and researching these things. Go back in history, bring it back to the modern, understand what's really going on. So with that, we're about to begin, and now we're about to go to a society. Understand this crazy society which had these weird scientists, but they had also an ideology that actually was shaped the world at that time, the world of Europe at that time. And the reason why I'm saying the world of Europe, because it was the settings of something that was going to happen pre-World War II and post-World War I. So let's go to right now, let's go to the area around, let's say, Russia and Germany, that little area, Germany, Poland, and let's see what's going on in this age, in this society called the Thule Society. The Thule Society. And let's see what they're talking about, their ideology. And we're going to bring it close with the scriptures and understand about these crazy scientists. All right? So join us on this journey. Now, time to talk about the Thule Society. So, what I'm about to read is an article that says the Thule Society, Occultism, Mysticism, and the Dark Foundation of Nazi Ideology. And it's from ClawsonBooks.com. From Clawson Books. Yes, from Colin Lawson. He's the author. All right. Let us see what this Thule Society is about. It says this. The Thule Society, originally the Studiengruppe für Germanisches Altertum, or the Study Group for Germanic Antiquity, remains one of the most enigmatic, controversial occult organizations in the 20th century, emerging from the esoteric and nationalist fever that followed World War I. The Thule Society mixed elements of occultism, mysticism, and Aryan supremacy to form a group whose influence would help shape the ideologies that led to one of the most devastating regimes in modern history, the Nazis. All right, so we understand that it was around 1918 that it started, I believe, around that time. So it started before Hitler got into office. Let me continue reading. It was claimed that the Thule Society boasted a membership of 1,500 members at its peak, but the number is debated by various people. Some say it was much less, some say it was much more. All right, the origins of the Thule Society, which is the Germanic occult revival. The Thule Society, known in German the Thule Gesellschaft, wow, was founded in Munich, Germany in 1918. So I'm guessing it was around something called the Weimar Republic. During a period of the great social unrest in the aftermath of World War I, Germany was reeling from its defeat in the war. The Treaty of Versailles and the collapse of the German Empire. Amid the political and economic chaos, secret societies and fringe groups flourished, seeking to restore national pride and social order through mystical and nationalist ideas. So in other words, the society was like collapsing and people, they needed help. So they were just turning to occultism. So instead of turning to God, what they did, they started to turn to occultism. So they let these wizards and historians and start working together. Wizards and historians just started mixing things. Oh, all right. Now, one such group was the Thule Society, named after the mystical land of Thule, a legendary northern island mentioned in ancient Greece and Roman texts that was often associated with a lost Aryan homeland. So, it's mentioned in Greek and Roman texts about this Thule Society in some area all the way in the North Pole. All right. The society was originally an offshoot of the Germanorden, a secretive national group focused on the revival of ancient Germanic traditions and promotion of Aryan supremacy. The Thule Society's founding members, led by Rudolf von Sebaldendorf, was fascinated by the occult and believed in the pure existence of an ancient Aryan race from which the German people were descended. They saw themselves as defenders of this heritage, tasked with reclaiming Germany's destiny through a blend of mysticism, ancient symbols, and racial superiority. While initially operating as a scholarly and occult-focused group, the Thule Society quickly developed into a political entity, and it became deeply involved in the far-right national politics, laying the ideological groundwork that would later be adopted by the Nazi Party. Meaning, that whole pure master race started with the Thule Society itself, and that's where it started to get adopted in the German Workers' Party, which is the Nazi Party. All right, let's see their beliefs. So this is their beliefs. At the heart of the Thule Society, worldview was a belief in the superiority of the Aryan race and the notion that ancient mystical knowledge has been passed down through Aryan bloodlines. The blend of racial pseudoscience and occultism formed the basis of their teachings, which was heavily influenced by the works of 19th century writers and philosophers such as Guido von List and Helena Blavatsky. The society believes that the ancient Aryans possess extraordinary spiritual powers and knowledge that modern man has lost through racial mixing and social decay. So, let us look exactly what's going on. These Aryans, they were like these people that live far north. Just imagine this kingdom like this castle that has ice, or this beautiful castle to the north. And you see all around these people, these blondes, running through the snow, just having a good time. And sometimes in the summer, they'll just be around just doing their little mysticism and magic, just walking around, these little Aryans, practicing their magic. They believe that these were like these master race of people. these blondes that were so intelligent, and they said these Germans that came from them. That's why they called them the master race, because they're just running around the snow, talking and playing, having a good old time. And these are like masters of society. This is also where many Westerners get this idea of elves. If you ever know about video games such as the Elder Scrolls or World of Warcraft, or even like our tokens, the Lord of the J.R. Tolkien's, the Lord of the Rings, there's elves. And there's something about all these things about these elves. They always think that they're this big race above all races. That's really what elves think. When you start looking at elves, they're known to be these blonde people with pointy ears. And guess what? These elves also are known to do magic and witchcraft. So that's how these elves look. They're known to be, some of them are known to be tall, some are short. Even if you look at Santa Claus, who was the one that helped Santa Claus? The elves. Yes, Santa Claus didn't do it all alone. That whole story about him on the North Pole coming down chimneys, help from the elves. So these Aryans supposed to be having this mysticism. So let me continue reading on. Now this is mysticism and ancient wisdom. The Thule Society occult practices were steeped in mysticism, and its members believed they were tapping into ancient hidden truths that could guide them in their quest to restore Aryan dominance. Much of their occult philosophy drew upon the elements of theosophy, a spiritual doctrine developed by Madame Blavatsky that combines aspects of Western esotericism with Eastern religious concepts such as reincarnation and spiritual evolution. So they believe that they'll keep coming back over and over and over again, that they could not be defeated, which made these Nazis so strong. Theosophy posted that the Aryan race was the pinnacle of human development, a belief the Thule Society embraced and distorted into justification for racial superiority. Members of the Thule Society sought to uncover these ancient truths through ritual magic, meditation, and the study of runes, which were ancient symbols used by Germanic peoples for divination and spiritual purposes. Runes. Those are like different signs and symbols that magical energy can flow through. Now, runes held a special place in the Thulean ritual practices, as they were believed to be the key to unlocking forgotten wisdom of the Aryan ancestors. Thule members also practiced astrology and believed that celestial alignment had special significance for their cause, further intertwining their mystical beliefs with their nationalist goals. Oh, wow. So they were even into mysticism and astrology. So all those things that it says in Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, that you don't do. Yeah, this right here, this verse right here, all this they were doing, these Aryans. And hey, they were trying to get there. They was trying to get that magical stuff. Now, the Most High says you're not supposed to be involving yourself in those things, but they did it. Now, racial purity and the Aryan myth. One of the central tenets of the Thule Society's idea was the myth of the Aryan race, which they believed originated in the land of Thule. According to their worldwide views, the Aryans were a race of advanced beings with pure bloodlines and a direct connection to divine power. Hey, just like the Elves. Just like the Elves, a race of divine beings who had this direct power. Just like the Elves, all elves are considered magical. So imagine the Nazis trying to be a bunch of race of elves. Imagine this army of elves of the 20th century. Over time, this pure race was said to spread across the globe, influence great civilizations before their bloodline became diluted through interbreeding with the lesser races. Now you can understand where the Aryan race and the Nazis of the Thule Society start to get murderous. They weren't fearing their power as in somebody taking over them. They were fearing intermingling of bloodlines, meaning intermarriage. We keep going. For the Thule Society, the goal was not only to revive ancient Germanic traditions, but also to restore their racial purity they had believed they have lost. This pseudo-historical narratives of the Aryan supremacy laid the foundation of the racial politics that will later define the Nazi Party. Ooh. So that's where that Nazi Party began to lay the line about that. So now we understand where this Aryan myth is coming from. So we got to pause here for some Bible scriptures that's going to speak about this, because this ain't just a historical review or historical documentation. This is a Bible documentation. So we have to go over scriptures so we can understand what's really going on. And you connect the scriptures to history and your eyes will be open. Hey, everyone. So it's time for a Bible study. Yes. So we're about to talk about racism in the Bible. Like, is the Lord racist? Is God racist? So we have to understand this. We're hearing these things about the Aryan nation with the Nazis and everything. They're saying that they're supposed to be the superior race, and it's their destiny, and it's the Aryans' destiny. But then people were saying, that's sinful. Well, in a way, it's sinful for what they're trying to do. How they're trying to destroy other nations and set up false gods and be like the elves and things like that, and put witchcraft and wizardry and runology. Yeah, that's wicked. But there is racism in the Bible. Yes, it is. And let's prove it. Because people want to say, no, God ain't racist. God ain't racist. So let's see first. Let's see what the word racism means. This is Britannica.com on the topic of racism. All right. Like I always say, we have to prove all things, cite sources. Racism, the belief that humans may be divided into separate and exclusive biological entities called races, that there is a causal link between inherited traits and traits of personality, intellect, morality, and other cultural behavior features, and that some races are innately superior to others. So the main part about races being superior to others, that's the main part about something that's racism, when you have like this racial superiority. All right. Now there's a difference between racism and hate crimes. All right. Hate crimes is when you go around and start hurting people because of their race. That's different. All right. Racism is because you have an act or a thought. You mainly have a thought of a superiority over a person because of your race. That's racism. Now, but let's see if that's biblical. Let's see what the Bible says. Let's go to Deuteronomy 7:6. Now, he's talking about his people, the Israelites, the real Israelites of the Bible. All right. Not the fake ones, not the people who could think they can just convert to a religion and just automatically be an Israelite, one that's born of the word and the spirit, meaning the spirit of prophecy and the word of the Lord, meaning the ones that went into slavery on ships and the ones who went to slaves for 400 years and who went throughout all the prophecies of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. That's being born of prophecy. Now, if you're just a convert to some religion, that doesn't actually make you an Israelite, because that means you're not following what the Lord is saying. He's saying you have to be born from the belly, meaning born under prophecy. You just can't convert. So this is Deuteronomy 7:6 about the Lord's true holy people. All right. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Whoa, that sounds racist, because it says right here, and according to Britannica, it says race, that the features of racism is to have an innately superiority to others, meaning you're superior to other races. But in Deuteronomy 7:6, he's saying his people, the Israelites, are above all people. They're special unto himself, which make them superior. So if he's saying that his people, the Israelites, are superior, meaning to all other people, that means all other nations are inferior. So just think about this. The Israelites, superior race. Other nations, inferior race. That's racism. but it's ordained by God. It's right there in the scriptures. He's saying it's right here. It's in Deuteronomy 7:6. Let me read it again. "But thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people upon the face of the earth." Well, as you know, we need some witnesses to see if that means other nations are inferior. Yeah, and certain nations are actually cursed and demoted. Meaning they're not just inferior, they're even inferior of inferior. They're like literally cursed nations. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus, which is also known as Sirach 33:10. It says this: "And all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of the earth." Yes, every nation came from Adam. That doesn't mean we're equal. "And much knowledge the Lord hath divided them and made their ways diverse." That's why the nations look different, act different, talk different, have different coatings of skin, have different coatings, the hue, the eyes, the face, things like that. They don't look the same no more because the Most High divided them. That happened during the Tower of Babel. All right, 33:12. "Some of them he has blessed and exalted." Yeah, he actually blessed certain races and exalted them. All right. "And some of them he has sanctified." Yes, like his people Israel. They were blessed, exalted, and sanctified and set near himself. That's 33:12. But also it says this: "But some of them hath he cursed and brought low and turned out of their places." So in other words, certain nations he just straight up made them low and based. And even when it was time for them to be removed, he had to remove them. So these were known as cursed nations or nations that was demoted. Demoted is known as being brought low or having a negative prophecy on you. So now these are known as the cursed and demoted nations. All right. Now there's more, but these are like the main ones that you will see constantly in the Bible. Canaan, which are the Canaanites. Moab, which are the Moabites. Ammon, which are the Ammonites. Ishmael, which are the Arabs. Yeah, the Arabs have a prophecy that demotes them. Philistia, which are the Philistines. You hear about those. Mainly like you hear stories about David and Goliath. Things like that. Goliath was a Philistine. Amalek. Oh man, we got something to say about him. And Esau, which is Edom. Edom and Esau, they're the same nation. And the Most High have a lot to say about them. But let's go back. Let's go to the first one we named, Canaan. And we have to prove all things. Genesis 9:25. "And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren." 9:26. "And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant." So right here, he's already saying the Canaanites, they're cursed. They're actually cursed people. If you ever know about the conquest of the land of Canaan, where the Israelites, after they came and did their slavery in Egypt, they had to come to the land of Canaan. They had to wipe them out. They could not make any contracts, make no marriages, make no friendships with them. They had to wipe them out because they were cursed. They were already a cursed people. Deuteronomy 23:3. It says, "An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord." So Ammonite, Moab, and Ammon. So Moab and Ammon, a lot of people would after doing a lot of research, they would look at them as many of the certain Oriental nations that you can see. We're going to go over another class about that. But allegedly, those are certain Oriental nations, such as the people of, China, Korea, Japan, things like that. The ones that was pushed out of their land and put all the way to the end of Asia. All right. And it said, let me read it again. "An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever." Meaning they were going to have the only way that they can be in the congregation were only by servitude. All right. Not just regular servitude, harsh servitude. 23:4. And that's one of the reasons why, if you ever heard of Ruth, the first thing that she wanted to do was be a servant. because she understood her place, her position, that she was not able to enter into the congregation. So her position was servitude. So Deuteronomy 23:4, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. So because they hired this Babylonian guy to come over there and start cursing them. Verse 23:5, nevertheless the Lord thy God will not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loveth thee. Thou shalt not, this is the scary part about them, thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all the days of their life. You're not supposed to make peace with them, even if they prosper, because Moab and Ammon would prosper because these are children of Lot, and they would prosper, but you're not supposed to seek their peace because they're so heavily into idolatry on a high level. So that's Moab and Ammon. All right, now let's understand. What about this person named Ishmael? Let's see what the Most High has to say about him. So this is Genesis 16:11. It says this: Ishmael is the father of the Arabs, so the Arab nations, what the Most High have to say about them. Because when you read like certain books like the Quran or the Hadith, it make it seem like the Arabs are blessed and things like that. Let's see how the Most High gives his prophecy. Yeah, there was going to be princes of Israel was going to get the princes and things like that, but that happened already. But this is another prophecy demoting them. Genesis 16:11. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and thou shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord heard thy affliction. So the word Ishmael means the Most High, he shall hear the Lord. So something like that, the Lord shall hear. So verse 12, and he will be a wild man. This is the prophecy. And his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of his brother. So just think about that. That's a demoting prophecy, or a prophecy to bring someone low. Meaning wherever these Arab people would be at, they're going to have a problem with any other people who aren't Arab, and their hands will be against them, meaning they'll try to destroy them and do any type of attack or things like that, and people are going to have a problem with them. So imagine a person saying, here comes a group of people who have a problem with you, and you going to have a problem with them. That's how the Arabs are looked at. That's their prophecy. I mean, wherever they're going to go, they're going to have a problem with a nation or a country, and that country going to have a problem with them. And it says, and he shall dwell in the presence of their brother, meaning they're always going to dwell together. A whole bunch of them. That's why if you look at how they are in the Middle East, all the Arab nations have a flag that's very similar with the same colors, because they dwell together and they're wild. They do a lot of wild things. So let's see the next one that we have here. That was Ishmael, which is the father of the Arabs. We have Philistia, or which are the Philistines. So let's see how the Most High actually feel about the Philistines. Let's go to Psalms 60:8. So if you want to know the Philistines, they're an African tribe that's very close to the Egyptians, but they gave us some problems. So they're actually descendants of Kasulu, which are descendants of the Egyptians. Isaiah 60:8, it says, Moab is my washpot. Yeah, because he looks at Moab as, it's like a washpot. All right. And it says, and Edom, I will cast out my shoe. Cast out my shoe means like you're giving him a divorce, like saying, get out of here. He doesn't even care about him no more. Meaning because Edom was actually one of the sons of Isaac. Esau was one of the sons of Isaac, but later he did some crazy stuff and he just got cast away for something he did. We're going to go into that. And it says, Philistia, triumph thou because of me. So he's trying to say now in the Philistines. So he's saying the only way the Philistines will ever be triumphant or be victorious is only because the Most High allows it. meaning they're just a nation, just a regular nation there, and the only way they were powerful because the Most High, he allowed them to do it. For example, there's a part where the Philistines took the ark, and the Most High allowed them to take it. So they don't have hard. In other words, the Philistines really don't have any power at all unless the Most High allow it. And really, the Philistines were there to teach us, because I myself am an Israelite. So teach my people, the Israelites, how to fight when we went into the land of Canaan, because they were like a base nation. They weren't considered like a cursed nation as Canaan, but they were a brought down nation, brought low. And they were there just as a nation, just to show us how to fight. That's why we used to always fight with them with David. And then after we learned how to fight with our military, the Most High got rid of them. You don't hear about them no more. After Nebuchadnezzar came, he just cooked them up, just threw them around, and their identity is done, meaning it's hard to find. I mean, you have certain saying like, where are the Philistines now today? There's research that they might be the descendants of the Zulus of Africa. Like they fled into Africa and they became the Zulus, and they fought like the Zulus, and they wore the plum headdress just like the Zulus. They acted like the Zulus. They loved to spear like the Zulus, and they were also moving from territory to territory like the Zulus. And just like they had the Pharaoh Shaka, they also had the Philistine lords who was like the same way, just like the Zulus. So there's a lot of history between the Philistines turning into the Zulus. So now let's go to our other person who's cursed. This one is really cursed. This person is called Amalek. All right. Amalek was a nation of Esau, but he done something where he got taken out of the nation of Esau to be like a nation to himself. So they're called Amalekites. So this is known as Exodus 17 and 14. So it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out of remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So he does not like Amalek. He's utterly gonna put him out from remembrance. So this is verse 15. And Moses built an altar and called its name Jehovah Nissi. For he said, because the Lord has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. That's a curse. To have war with a nation, to blot them out of heaven, always have war. So the three main nations that was in our land was the Amalekites, the Canaanites, and the Philistines. So the Canaanites, we had to get rid of them. They had to go. The Amalekites were always going to have war with, no matter where they was. And the Philistines, they was just there just to keep us, to train the people, the Israelites, to know how to fight. That's why David was fighting against the Philistines so much, and the Most High was helping them like it was nothing. So, and after the Philistines was put down, then the land was now fully under Israel, meaning the real Israelites. But now let's go to Esau, Edom. All right, that's the other person, one of the last ones who are cursed. So let's see what the Most High has to say about Esau. All right, let's go to Romans 9 and 13. It says, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Now, Esau, if you understand, there's a lot of historical evidence and historical proven that Esau are the Romans and their descendants. Even the Greeks and their descendants. Not all Greeks, but the ones from the Greeks that dealt with Alexander and the descendants, and the Romans and their descendants. So I'm trying to keep this YouTube friendly and not say exactly who was who, but I think you understand who we're talking about. So the descendants of the Romans and the descendants of the Greeks. So yes, those are considered the Edomites. And it was always part of Israelite history, even in ancient time, that the Romans were Edomites. So let's go to Malachi 1 and 2. It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein have thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I love Jacob. So, whoa. So he's saying he loved Jacob. So Jacob and his people, the Israelites. Malachi 1 and 3. And I hated Esau. He said he straight up hated Esau. And I laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Because there was a time where Esau used to live in a mountainous area right next to Israel. And it was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. But something happened where they broke away from Nebuchadnezzar, crossed over into certain European countries, and they learned the ways of the Greeks. The original Greeks was known as the Japhethites. But then under Philip took over the Greeks, and he gave the rulership over to his son Alexander. And as for the other Edomites, they went over to the part of Rome and learned from a group known as the Etruscans. And then after they were done with the Etruscans, they took them over and they became the Romans. So these were the Edomites. This is them getting their new heritage after they was kicked out the land by Nebuchadnezzar. So Malachi 1 and 3, it says, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. 1 and 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. So all the desolate places that was destroyed, that's why many of the Romans and Greeks came and start putting cities around those areas. Like many of the Romans, they was putting Roman city here, Roman city there. You could even find a Roman city close to India, because that's where they was putting all their places that they once conquered or once was around or once traded with. They had to rebuild any desolate place. All right, I'm going to continue reading. It says, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, meaning wherever these descendants of Romans and the Greeks are, there's going to be wickedness. And the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. Man, Most High really don't like these Romans that much. He's unsaid. Remember, it was the Romans who was the ones that actually who partook in the crucifixion of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who people call Jesus Christ, under orders of Pontius Pilate. It was the Romans under Nero Caesar, who was actually torturing the early church. The real Christians, according to the Bible, which was many of the Israelite followers that believed in Christ and followed the law. The real Christians, because you have fake Christians now. Now you have a church known as the Universal Church, and anybody can be a Christian. No, being a Christian, it was like a sacred order where you had to be called into. It wasn't for everybody. So, but at that time, Nero was actually killing them, and Nero Caesar was actually torturing Christians. He was a Roman. He was an Idumean. He was an Edomite. There's other names. Esau, Edom, and Idumea. Those are the same words. And the Most High has a problem with those people. Isaiah 34 and 5. It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. So when it says bathed in heaven, meaning those that are higher up in the high rulership. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, which is Edom, which are descendants of the Romans, upon the people of my curse to judgment, because he's going to judge them at the end. So this shows right here, out of those nations, the cursed and demoted nations, Canaan, Moab, Ammon, Ishmael, Philistia, Amalek, and Esau. So they're cursed and demoted. So that's actually considered racist when you think of it. But the Most High, he ordained it and he put it in prophecy. Therefore, if you really want to say, is the Most High racist? If you say yes, it's really not a sin, because really he's putting this right here saying, yes, these are scriptures that says, according to the word racism, it says that when you want to say a race is initially superior to others, and the Most High saying, yes, his people Israel are superior above all people, and he's ordaining that. And then you want to say races are inferior. And he says these nations right here that we named, Canaan, Moab, Ammon, Ishmael, Philistia, Amalek, and Esau, are known as cursed and demoted, cursed or demoted nations, therefore inferior because of the judgment that's about to happen or that happened to them. So then, yes, it seems like there is racism in the Bible, and the Most High is ordaining it. Thus says the Lord. See, we're proving all things. That's why I told you there's certain things in the Bible that's very shocking. That's why a lot of people, it says that is not his word like a fire. Because like many of these church leaders, they're not teaching these things. And when people hear this, they're like, whoa, no, God ain't racist. God ain't racist. We just read you a whole bunch of scriptures that shows racism and it's ordained and prophesied by God. So may Jesus Christ get all the glory in the end. Now it's time for us to investigate a certain mystical group, mystical beings called elves. Elves has been in the culture of the Western culture for a long time. You have it in many of the historical aspects. You have it in cartoons, in video games. You have like video games like Zelda, the Elder Scrolls, World of Warcraft. Then you have it in movies such as Lord of the Rings, and then you even have them on in Hellboy, and you even have elves in sci-fi too, like the guy named Spock from Star Trek. But what's our influence, and why are we so influenced and infatuated with this mythical group of people called elves? We're just going to see who are these elves. All right, so this is from, let me quote my source, mythologyworldwide.com. That's mythologyworldwide.com. The article is The Elven Origins, Tracing the Roots and Evolutionary Development of the Elven Myths. All right, introduction to Elven Myths. Elves have been a significant part of folklore and mythology across various cultures, often depicted as magical beings with deep connections to nature. They have inspired countless tales and artistic representations embodying both beauty and mystery. The study of the origins of elven myths, is crucial for understanding not only the cultural heritage of societies that believe in them, but also the evolution of these narratives over time. And the reason why we're going over this, because there's a connection to elves and Aryans. I mean, not the real Aryans, which are the sons of Japhet, but the Aryans that the Thule Society are talking about. All right. By examining these roots, we gain insight into human beliefs, fears, and aspirations that have persisted through the ages. So, in this article, we'll explore historical context of elves, trace their evolving characteristics, examine their variations. All right. So, we're going to skip around. We want to go into like the main parts of the elven culture. All right. Historical context. Early depictions of elves in ancient cultures. The earliest records of elves can be traced back to ancient cultures where they were often seen as spirits or supernatural beings. In Germanic and Norse tradition. Germanic. Just remember that. Because that's where the Thule Society and the Aryan nation, they are influenced with Germanic and Norse traditions. That's why there's a connection to elves and the Aryans. Okay, elves were associated with various natural elements and were believed to possess magical ability. That's why you always see elves in video games and elves in fantasy movies always doing magic. All right. In Norse mythology, elves, known as Alfar, were considered divine beings linked to fertility and nature. They were classified into light elves and dark elves. Dark elves. Well, you hear about dark elves from video games such as the Elder Scrolls, which is called the Dark Elves, the Dawnmar, and they have their own. The weird thing about the Elder Scrolls is they have a group known as the Dark Elves called the Dunmar, and the reason what turned their skin dark skin was because they were cursed. Yes, they were cursed, and then they had to just accept their dark skin as a curse. So that kind of had, now you can understand ties of the Aryans, where the Aryans will look at the darker nations as a little like inferior, because you have the light elves and the dark elves, and the dark elves are known to be more inferior. Let me continue on reading. Germanic folklore also features similar beings, often described as mischievous and sometimes malevolent. All right, now the influence of Celtic folklore and elven narratives. All right, Celtic mythologies introduce another layer to elven lore, depicting them as ethereal beings dwelling in otherworldly realms. So that shows like where you get things like Lord of the Rings, where the elves were able to move from dimension to dimension. And as I'm reading on here, these elves, it seems like they're possessing more traits of demons. When you start thinking about it, they're able to move from realm to realm, be in certain dimensions, and it even says the light elves and dark elves. Remember, it says in the Bible that Satan is able to transform himself into an angel of light. All right. So it says the Tuatha De Danann, a race of supernatural beings in Irish mythology, shares characteristics with elves, such as their connection to nature and magic. All right. Physical traits. Elves have been portrayed with various physical traits, often characterized by their slender bills, pointy ears, and otherworldly beauty. Over time, these attributes have become more standardized, particularly in modern fantasy settings. Yeah, these guys are beginning to sound a little demonic in a way, if you really want to think about it. Like, really, but let me continue reading. It says, initially, elves were often viewed as capricious and malevolent spirits causing mischief and harms, just like demons, right? However, as the narrative evolved, particularly during the Renaissance and Romantic periods, they began to seem as benevolent protectors of nature, embodying ideals, harmony, and beauty. Let me just explain what's going on, because it also said the Renaissance, and if you all understand, we did a video about what was going on in the Renaissance when they was trying to mix witchcraft. So let's put it together. During the North mythology, up in the Middle Ages, they looked at these elves, and also the Celtics looked at these elves as beings, but they were these violent beings, these beings that you have to watch out for, these malevolent beings, like demons. But the Renaissance said, oh, they're okay. Let's bring these beings into nature, make them beautiful. And if you understand what they were doing in the Renaissance, they was mixing some demonic activity. Yes, make sure you watch the video that goes into that. Yeah, so in other words, elves were once evil, now they're good, and they just broke off from another group of elves known as the dark elves. Let them be evil. Just like you have different classes of demons. You have demons that portray themselves as angel of light, but they're still demons. And you also have demons that look just straight up evil, like to the point where you can't even look at them. All right, so I'm going to skip down. This is the impact of cultural exchange of elven lore. Cultural exchange throughout history had led to the blending and adaptation of elven myths, creating rich tapestries of stories that reflect values, beliefs, and different societies. A trade route expanding communities, interacting, and roles of elves involved. So it just goes into all the different type of forms. Now it's just going to go into the different literature like the Lord of the Rings and all that with the fan fiction. But now we understand a basic view of what elves are. All right, this is what happened, so you can understand on the basic views of elves. Elves started off as these spirits, these mean spirits that you have to stay away from. But they look pretty. They were nice. Then there was two classes of them, the dark elves and the light elves. But they both was evil. Then during the Renaissance, they made the evil as good. So now they said elves are good, and they start making pictures of them. They start making them having pointy ears, making them look pretty and things like that. So, and they were able to be in and out of realms. They were mystical, magical creatures. So, in this whole, according to this article, it was mainly the Renaissance that was pushing this a lot. Because before that, the North mythology was saying, yo, you better watch out for those elves. Go into the woods, bump into them, you may not come back. But in the Renaissance, they were saying, go into the woods and just be friends with them aka be friends with those demons. So if you really want to know what elves are, they're demons. So just like the Aryans that the Thule Society think that they want to appreciate and want to be like, demons. That's the connection to Aryans and elves, the worship of demons. When I say Aryans, I'm talking about the Thule Society Aryans, because as you know, the original Aryans are of Japhet, but the ones at the Thule Society are made up, and they have that connection with the history of elves. So now we have at least a basic understanding about these demonic creatures that people call elves. Now it's time to answer one of the questions that many people want to know. Who actually are the Aryans according to the Bible? So let's see what the Bible says. But first, let's see what links it up, all right? So what's going to link up the term Aryan, who they really are? Because according to the Thule Society and the Nazis and everything, they saying that there was this ancient Nordic group all the way to the North Pole with magical powers, acting like elves and everything, the master race and all that. But let's see what the Bible has to say about it. We're going to link this up, and we're going to unveil who these Aryans are. So this is from the archaeologist.org to see the true origins of the Aryans. All right, let's see their true origins. Now, this is the origins and identity of the original Aryans. A journey through time and culture. It says the term Aryan has been a subject of significant debate and controversy, with origins rooted in ancient history and culture. The notion of the Aryans have undergone a transformation from the origination to its modern interpretation, tracing back to ancient times. The identity and origins of the original Aryans hold an invaluable key to understanding early Indo-European society and its cultural practices. The concept Aryan was not a modern construct. Instead, it finds its roots in historical accounts, meaning the term Aryan goes back for hundreds or even thousands of years. An early reference to the Aryans can be found in the words of Darius the First, an ancient ruler who identified himself as an Aryan in inscriptions, suggesting that the term held significant cultural, social, and political relevance at that time. Whoa, remember Darius the First. Now we can connect it to the Bible. Let's see what Darius the First says. He says this: I'm Darius, the great king, I'm going to skip that because that's a blasphemous statement. I don't like saying that. The great king of countries, containing all kinds of men, king in this great earth, far and wide, son of Hystaspas and Achaemenian, a Persian, son of a Persian, and Aryan, having Aryan lineage. But he said he's Darius, right? All right. So he's saying that he's Darius. So let's see what the Bible says about Darius. Remember, Darius calls himself an Aryan. He has Aryan lineage. So let's see this connection to the Bible. Let's go to Daniel's 5:30. It says, in that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. Belshazzar, he was descendant of Nebuchadnezzar. He was a Babylonian or a Chaldean, and he ended up getting killed. Verse 31, and Darius, there he is, the Median, took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So, at 62 years old, Darius the Median took the kingdom. But we just read that he was considered Darius the Aryan. So now let's see which race, according to the Bible, is the median. First, let's look up the word median. It comes from the root word media. It says this: definitions: media, or Medes, or media, meaning middle land, a people descended from the sons of Japheth, who inhabited the territories of Media. So let's see about this. Let's go to Genesis 10 and 2. The sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Media, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tyrus. So let's connect them all together. Darius was an Aryan, all right? Darius in the Bible is considered a Median. So the Aryans were descendants of Media, or Media, and Media was the son of Japheth. So, and let's see, we're going to go to verse 5 to see what type of people these was. It says, but these was the isles of the Gentiles divided into their lands. So these were islander peoples, the people who you see in isles, that was divided. So it doesn't say that people who was all the way in a large continent in the Arctic ring in the North Pole. It says they were in the islands, divided by their lands. And it says they were descendants of Japheth. So now we're uncovering who the real Medes are. So that shows you that these Germans in this Thule Society who thinks that the Aryans, descendant from the North Pole, is a bunch of baloney. It's fake. It's bogus. The Bible is telling you here the Aryans are the sons of Japheth. That was from the islands. Like all the islands that you see in Pacific and all around, they're islanders. Like the Japhethites would be like, for example, like the Samoans, Hawaiians, the original Australians, Aboriginals, things like that. Those are like descendants of Japheth. Those would be people who were related to the Aryans. And that's who Darius was related to. So the Aryans, the Bible didn't say they're in the North Pole in some mystical kingdom and everything. That's some baloney that the Thule Society made up, and then Hitler just adopted it. So we just proved to you, according to the Bible, the connection to who the Aryans really are. They were part of the Isles of the Gentiles, descendants of Japheth. All right? So understand that. All right. Hey, now to conclude this, because we're pressed for time, as we know, we was able to discuss what the Thule Society belief system, what they was into, mysticism and magic, and how even the Nazis was very influenced by them, how they was able to mix witchcraft and science, and how the Aryans actually thought that they was this mystical group of people, just like the Elves. And we also went over who the Elves were and their connection to magic and mysticism, and that Elves are actually really demons. And also the Aryans, how the Thule Society thought that the Aryans was these mystical people all the way on the North Pole and things like that, and they came down and brought the society here. But then we was able to prove who the real Aryans were. And the Aryans were actually the descendants of the Medes, even Darius the Great, or Darius the First was an Aryan himself, and we was able to link it to the Bible. And also, speaking of the Bible, we was able to show you something called biblical racism to understand there's righteous hate and there's unrighteous hate. Righteous hate is if it's approved by the Bible and by the Most High. That's known as righteous hate. Unrighteous hate is what the Nazis, what they were doing. They was doing that on an unrighteous level by mixing witchcraft and demonology. That's known as unrighteous hate right there. So, and we was able to show you that by way of the scriptures. So in concluding this, we was going to say that our journey is not complete. We still got to get to Antarctica. But we just want to know, because our whole main focus is that ice cube machine in Antarctica. And we have to know all the way from the beginning what influenced these scientists to mix witchcraft. And we're actually still going. We're going to be going and talking more about what happened to the Nazi scientists. We didn't get into that yet. we're going to be talking about that in the future. We're going to be talking about other subjects. And also we're going to be continuing this journey to Antarctica and see what's going on with this weather machine. So just continue to stay focused. And we come in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, who we call Yahushua HaMashiach. May you stay blessed and stay holy, stay studying, stay reading your scriptures. And until we meet again, and make sure you subscribe so you can understand when the next video comes out. All right, Shalom, which means peace, brothers and sisters out there, and all y'all that's watching.